is the end of the fall semester and school is out. So we asked Dartmouth professor and Bloomberg contributing editor Danny Blanchflower to tell us how he would grade the world's central bankers. Danny is a former member of the Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee. He's also an advisor to the Boston Fed, and he is in Hanover, New Hampshire. Danny, good morning. Let's start with the man in the spotlight after the ECB lent out a whole lot of money to banks at very cheap rates, and that would be Mario Draghi of the ECB. What kind of grade does he deserve?
Well, about 10 days ago, when I started to think about this, I actually had him D-. But actually, he's really his score improved last week when we had the cut in interest rates and we had the extension of the time period over which the ECB would lend money, broadening of the base of the kind of assets that they would take. So I'm awarding Draghi a B-, but just like if you're in the pop charts and you're rising up the pop charts, I give him a B- with a bullet, which is that he seems to at long last have been getting it, but he is still subject to the fact that he went along with the rate increases and the policy of the ECB in the past. But I think that at long last the ECB has got it, but he doesn't score better than a B- because really we should be seeing the ECB cutting by more than it's done, moving to QE, but he is on track, I think, and we've certainly seen a big contrast between him and Trichet. And I guess the answer is that he's an Italian, he's seen the problems going on in Italy, and I think I'm starting to really think that Draghi really does get it, and he really managed to cut rates just as he became chairman of the council. So B- with a bullet.
All right, so does that mean that you're going to flunk his predecessor, Jean-Claude Trichet?
I am. I'm afraid I am. Actually, he only gets an F because that's as low as I go. It's like the famous soccer line, which is, you lost 5-0, lucky to get nil, only got it because you started with it. So I certainly would fail Trichet. I think Trichet's focus on inflation was entirely wrong-headed. He didn't really understand that today and in the last 3 or 4 years, what we've seen was not a problem of inflation, and most of what the ECB did actually caused harm. Central bankers' first thing, just like a doctor, don't do any harm. I think that Trichet absolutely did that, raised rates in 2008 after the euro area had gone into recession, and repeated the mistake twice in 2011. And in my judgment, that actually probably is the thing that exacerbated the problem. Kept on talking about inflation, where actually the inflation shock was a temporary one, deflation coming. Didn't really realize it was about rescuing the banks and periphery and so on. So I'm afraid Trichet gets an F in my book, I'm afraid, for this year and for previous years.
He might need to retake the course. What about Ben Bernanke of the Federal Reserve?
Yep.
Where does he stand?
Well, I'm a great fan of Bernanke's. I think the great benefit the U.S. economy had was we had the world's greatest scholar of the Great Depression. The policymakers sitting there at Washington today, arguing with each other about what to do for 2 months, have missed the fact that this was really a rerun of what happened in the 30s. And thank goodness we had this great scholar Bernanke sitting in the Fed. And what he's actually, I think, done is pretty darn perfect. People have knocked him. People have talked about you should get rid of the Fed. Completely wrong-headed. It's the Fed that saved us. He cut rates early, went to QE. His communication skills have been pretty good, and he's held the committee together with a few people voting against. But I think Bernanke, I give him an A. I think I'm a big fan of Bernanke's. I've talked to him several times, and I think this guy is really the model for the other guys to look at. I mean, we see
Are you grading him on a curve, though, Danny? Are you grading Bernanke on a curve relative to the other guys?
I am grading him on a curve. That's how I should do it at Dartmouth. That's what we do. Grade him on a curve. Not perfect, but, you know, there are issues. But in comparison with the other guys in the class, he's an A.
Okay, we have to say this, Danny. You are a big fan of quantitative easing, QE. You think that's the best policy here. That's why you like Ben Bernanke. Not everybody agrees with you on that one. Why do you think that this is the right move for central bankers?
Well, most of the people who don't think that really weren't involved and weren't involved in what happened in 2007-8. Didn't see really the scale of the shock, And I pushed them back to Ben Bernanke's interview in 60 Minutes when he was asked, what do you think would have happened to the US economy if we hadn't intervened, we hadn't done QE? He says unemployment would have been 25%. And I very much share that view. It's an argument about the counterfactual. Most of these people, I think, just don't get how serious it was. Yes, unemployment has gone up, but it would probably be double, more than double that if Bernanke hadn't acted. So QE was the way to go. QE was the only show in town. The reason that Bernanke gets an A is because he got to do QE early, cut rates early. And so that was the first thing. And I'm downgrading Draghi because he hasn't done enough of it. And Trichet fails because he didn't do any of it.
All right, well,
so I'm a QE fan. I'm
yes,
a Bernanke
a QE fan.
Let's bring in Mervyn King, the head of the Bank of England, because he, too, did quantitative easing as well. So what kind of grade does he get?
Well, he overall, I think, gets a B. In 2007, he got an F because he didn't really get the problems at Northern Rock early enough. He talked about moral hazard when he should have rescued the bank. He didn't see the recession coming in 2008, kept saying there wasn't going to be a recession. But eventually he got it, has cut rates early, did quantitative easing. But I downgrade him compared to Bernanke because Bernanke's the model of what a central banker should do. When asked, what do you think about fiscal policy? He said, that's for the Congress. What I do is I do monetary policy. It's important to get this sorted out. I stay out of it. Mervyn King, if you like, stuck his nose into fiscal policy, told people that the government strategy was appropriate. And now he's broken the adage that he told me, which is always stay out of fiscal policy. And now the economy is tanking in the UK. Some of the blame for the fiscal policy is going to push to him. So I give Bernanke an A, I give King a B, but he has actually got it. He's now moved to doing QE, and it certainly looks from the bank minutes yesterday that they're going to do more QE. So I'm a fan of QE. He gets a B, better than Draghi, miles better than Trichet, but not as good as his old college roommate, which was Bernanke.
All right. Thank you so much, Danny Blanchflower, Bloomberg contributing editor, and as you can tell, professor of economics at Dartmouth College.